Well folks, welcome back to the workshop to another power tool repair video. This is a video on how to repair your vibrator. No, not that kind of vibrator. This here is a concrete vibrator. This is a Dewalt poker, and this thing is a little bit of a joke. Not to do with the actual tool itself really, more to do with the design of it or the repair of it. These here are for poking into concrete after you've poured it to actually get rid of the air bubbles or the air pockets and settle the actual aggregate inside. So if you're putting up a retaining wall or something, steel reinforced concrete wall, you'd pour it and then you'd stick this end on, and the vibrations for this would help the air bubbles rise to the surface and actually smooth out the mix so there's no pockets left inside. Essential bit of kit for concrete, but this is a little bit of a light duty one, but hard to get the whole thing on camera here. Only a cordless version, but still handy for what it is. €400 for this thing. For this wee small, basically Dewalt drill with a long poker end on the end of it. €400 for this as a body only. Dear enough for what it is, but if you're doing concreting and you need one, they're a handy job for what they do. This one's clearly done quite a bit of work. The joke part of this is the insides of it. The way Dewalt have designed it and do the spare parts, and I'll show you why in a little second. Repairing it probably isn't going to be an option, but I'm going to see if I can do a wee cheat job on this here with some old parts to see if we can get it up and running again for less money, because to repair this as is ain't going to be worth it. But we're going to see if we can fix her up anyway. Now this is in a bit of a state. It's clearly been worked and seen plenty of work and not really cared for. Normally you would keep the vibrating end, this poker end, nice and clean. You would wash it down after, because under concrete clearly they haven't. But that's fairly dirty. The shaft isn't too bad, but the head of her, the motor, is getting a right bit of abuse. Look at the state of this thing. This here is the 531 version. Don't think they have very many of them. This is still on sale today, but the cost around €400, like I say. And to say they're a complicated machine would be a bit of a lie. These are very basic. So you've got your drill up this end, spinning. It's just spinning this here flexible shaft. The motor end spins and it turns this here flexible shaft inside. This is just a flexible piece of steel, but it has a square end on it. So that goes on there. This is just transferring the drive from the drill to the bottom of the poker. It goes to the very bottom, and as the drill turns, it connects into a little wit in the steel end, and the wit spins around as well and actually causes the vibrations. These are quite expensive on a professional tool, but a lot cheaper for the likes of this here. So it's a cheap way to actually do this. This poker end, nothing wrong with that there. Dirty, but it still works. Wouldn't want to be replacing this here thing, because this is a bit of a joke. I'll show you on the breakdown diagram later on, but the prices for these here don't add up at all. So nothing wrong with that, at least, which is a good thing. Problem is inside of here, and we're going to have to do a little bit of stripping and cleaning to get into this thing, because she is filthy. All the screws look absolutely full to the brim with cement. So we're going to have to do a little bit of excavating to get into this. Not even just excavating, we're going to have to do some finding too, because we're a bit of a concrete cleaner. It'll come very handy. I don't even know where the screw holes are, because they're that well covered. I am not cleaning this thing down. Customer's not looking after it, so I'm not going to bother cleaning it. Not that I'm going to be able to clean concrete off it without a concrete acid. Right, this is going to take a bit of time. Oh, we'll dig the rest of them out later. Anyway, problem with this is the motor. She's not running the very best. I'm not even bothered to put the poker end on it, because it's not going to run anyway. Battery's charged, but this is barely moving. Problem is in the motor. Doesn't really matter if it is the motor or not. Motor, switch, controller, battery retainer. That's the problem with this thing. They're all one piece. And I'll show you where there's a bit of a joke inside. And also, I'm going to have a little attempt at repairing this. Normally when I see a breakdown diagram like this for spare parts, I wouldn't even bother touching it. But I think I have old parts on here that I might be able to do a little repair job on this with. So that's the only reason I'm doing it. Will that be enough? Can I get into there now? Yeah, give it a try. There's damage up here as well on this gearbox, look. Two portions of the threads have actually snapped off, but they're actually on the outside. There's actually a hollow behind it, so it shouldn't matter too much. But where do you see the inside of this thing? Have you ever seen a tool that was designed not to be repaired? Well, this is going to be it. Dewalt clearly do not want you fixing this thing. Look at that. That's just a controller and switch for a normal Dewalt drill. Probably one from the older brush version. This is just a brush motor inside, running a small basic gearbox onto this here. Very cheap, not the most powerful setup, but then it's only a cordless poker. It's not going to be the most powerful. Handy for what it is if the price suited, but the price of this doesn't really suit. The problem, I think, is the motor. Yes, look at a little bit burnt on there maybe. Yeah, that segment there is gone. Look. These are all nice shiny copper colour inside, but then the next one, sort of a dull grey. So it is the armature that's gone inside this motor. Where do I show you why this thing is just a bit of a joke? I'll show you on the breakdown diagram. So on the breakdown diagram you can get all the normal bits and pieces. You can get the body, wee bits for the front and everything. Little slide switch. Here is the problem. This is the motor that we need, a little DC motor. Probably does need a lot of power, so might only just need a wee DC motor. Can't really blame Dewalt for that. But no part number, no number. Connect it on to the actual switch and controller down here. So you can't buy this without buying all of this, part number 11. And that there assembly is costing €150 to buy. So instead of buying a small motor that costs about 30 or 40 euro, Dewalt can easily charge about 50 or 60 euro for it. They don't even sell it separately. So to buy that, you have to buy all of this as well at 150 euro. What a joke. So they clearly don't want you fixing it. And on top of that, the actual poker end, this vibrating end on it. Now, in any brand, they're quite expensive, but you can buy this tool for 400 euro. If you ever break the poker end or have it come off and you lose it, or if you just snap it or break the shaft inside, to buy that on its own is around 300 euro. 300 euro just for the part, 400 euro for the entire machine. How does that make any sense? €289 just for the vibrator on its own. That's crazy. So if the vibrator end of it ever goes on you, you'll not be replacing the end, you'll just be buying a new tool. Same goes for the switch, the controller and the motor. If any of these give you any trouble, you'll just be bidding the machine and buying a new one, because €150 for that part, I can't imagine anybody wanting to put it on. Plus it's going to cost even more if you're doing it for a repair shop, because the labour in replacing this as well. That there could easily be a €200 repair just to change that. And if the machine's coming in this kind of a state, it really wouldn't be worth spending €200 fixing it. You'll be far better off buying a new one and get the nice fresh machine with a fresh warranty. But this motor may only be a DC motor, but it's very similar to some of the other ones from older Dewalt drills. So that's why I'm going to have a go with this here thing. I'm going to see if one of the old motors will actually fit this. So I have a few old stock ones in stock. It'd be nice to get rid of one of them. That's if they're the same and if they fit. Even this here, that is the actual gearbox of a Dewalt drill. Still has a little lock gear inside of it. So they're just not using any of that. They're just using it to attach onto this head. That's all. This is just directly driven from the motor. No gear reduction at all. So this is just an extension to bring it out of an old gearbox housing onto a little coupling and a rubber boot for connecting it. So I might have this, but it'll not have this. I'm going to go through the old stock and see if anything's similar. No numbers on the motor itself. Part numbers are no good to me. Just have to match it up like for like. Up the top shelf. So up the top we have all the old stock Dewalt parts. Different armatures, gearbox, motors. Most of them are from, well, some of them are from the lithium drills, but a lot of them are from the older NiCad stuff, especially all these gearboxes here. But there is a few motors up here as well. The likes of that. See, that looks similar there. It's got the right head on it, but the wrong gear. But we could always take the gear off and swap the other one over. If the shaft's the same. That's the same one again. Gear's already been removed. Might be a better option. But it does say 14.4 here. And we kind of need an 18 volt one. We'll see what else is up here first. If not, we might go for that. Right, nothing else in stock up there. So we're going to go with this one. Right, this one, good contender. It's a nice Johnson motor. Same sizes, dimensions, it'll fit in no problem. But it's only a 14.4 volt motor. It's off an old DW 954 Type 2 NiCad drill, 14.4 drill. Never going to use this thing now. I've actually got 4 of them sitting up there. They're too old to ever be needed now. It's only €23 for them, but still. This would work, but the shafts aren't the same. I know it's the wrong voltage as well, but 14 and 18 volts, not that dissimilar. It will run. The lifespan of it just won't be as good, but it would work for a while. But it's not going to work if the shafts aren't the same, because I can't put this coupler onto this shaft. So that is going to be no good. But we mightn't be stuck just yet. We also have a box of all sorts in here. That's double-sided tip. Don't know why that's in there. Take that out. It's a long time since I've been in this box. That is an old paint marker, look. Holy hell. That is old. A paint pen. That is literally a tube of paint with a wee biro end of it. A wee biro end. On the end of a biro, you've got a wee ball. Same idea. It's a long time since you've seen one of these. I think paint markers aren't all that great now. Imagine having to use that thing. Push on the ball and squeeze it. Put a wee line of paint. It leaves a track for the ball. That's an old thing there. Paint's still good, mind you. Oh, €3.20 that was. I don't think we need to be keeping that. Right, box of motors. One of these should sit. A few gearboxes and that on here too, actually. That is an 18 volt one. Good enough size, but the shaft's way too long. That might work. Little metal ring on the outside, a wee bit different, but we can change them around. We can swap them out. Shaft's the right size. It actually fits on there too, actually. I'll give that a go. I'll just get this old one out first. Then we'll get this over to the bearing press. We'll do a little swappy and change over the parts. Tidy them up a wee bit so they can go into the new motor. That's better. Now, change this over to this and change the two ends. Take this gear off, put this here coupling on. You can actually feel that is very tight as well. It's not spinning right. That one's there a lot smoother. So this should do the job as long as this piece fits on here. We have to take off this coupler first to find out. The main thing is, does this plate fit? Now, the main thing is this plate going to fit? Look at that. Straight swap. So that'll work. So we'll just pull off this gear now. Now this wasn't just a perfect swap. This here new motor, the shaft's just a little bit longer, about 2 or 3 mil longer, so we just nipped it as well with the grinder. Cut it off and then just put a little bit of a bevel on it. So hopefully with this pressed on it'll do the job. You just need to make sure don't press it on too much, just till this here is flush with the top of the coupler. But because this is ran off a coupler as well, on this little rubber sleeve, it also means that this doesn't have to be all that exact. If this was just a gear driven gearbox, you'd have to be pretty exact. This might not work, especially if they cut the shaft on it. Because it's a coupler, there's a lot more play involved, so you don't have to be as exact. But you have to support this underneath now and drive this here coupler onto the shaft. But of course, before we stick that on, don't forget to put the plate back on as well. This has to go on first. Otherwise there's nothing to hold it onto. Now, press these on, hopefully this will do the job. Shaft on top of that little metal ring. And just press this on. Doesn't matter if this is the shaft fits through this or not. I suppose it does. We only want it to the top anyway. And this repair, if it works, should be good and cheap, because this is an old Makita motor instead of a Dewalt, and they were a lot cheaper. This will actually cost even less again than using that original Dewalt one. What'll be wrong with that? Everything's looking good, but will this work? No wonder it burnt out. That's actually an air vent for the motor as well. That one's not as bad. So, fitting on like that. If I didn't have to do all this crack, and if Dewalt actually supplied that motor separately, this would be a handy little fix. But because they don't, it's a bit complicated and a bit impossible for nearly anybody else, because you'd have to have the right motor. And I was hoping, I'm using that original Dewalt one, so it'd have a part number, because I don't even think I have a part number for this Makita one. Be very cool if this works. Be a lot cheaper to fix than buying that part from Dewalt anyway. Plus, I still think I have a few more of these motors left. Now, is it going to fit onto here? This is the main thing. No, I've done that wrong. There's wee ends on this that have to go on right. Has to go on like that. Has to be that way. Actually does fit. Should have put that lead on better. Put it on from the back. Should have done it from the top. Now, that should be a bit better. Put the LED back in again. Tuck in that live, or the red wire. Right. Hopefully this tucks in. Assuming this here motor ring was actually centered between these two, but it doesn't really look like it. Seems to be sitting in tight here. There's a gap down this side, so hopefully this should close. I've been sitting, working away here, but talking away to myself. Didn't realise I stopped recording. This didn't close up, and I had to go over and actually grind this off a little bit. I just took a belt sander and sanded that there down. I was filming it, but it turned out I wasn't filming it at all. So just done the same on the side. Took a little, what, about half a mil or a mil off of this here, just to make it a little bit bigger, to fit on this here, because it's not actually letting it in. The body is just rocking back and forth, so it is sitting up on top of this. So sand that back, cut it back a little bit, and that should get it on. Hear that rain out there? I don't know if you can hear it in the camera. It's pushing down. It's blowing a gale. It sounds horrible. But yet yesterday, we had a heat wave. 30-degree heat. Now, if you look at the door, it looks like it's even a hailstone or thunder. It's an absolutely terrible day. But at least I got my little meal video done. I sent in a scarf fire and tiller. And I got all that done yesterday evening. It's a good job I continued on with it. And I got the garden all tilled over, or scarified over, all the thatch taken out, cut down deep. Now at least the rain is going to help it grow again there now. So it's not all bad with the rain. But I wasn't expecting that much, to be honest. Right, that seems to be fitting on a little bit better. It's actually sitting down flush now. Just getting this wee lever on. There we go. Now, there we go. What'll be wrong with that? Hopefully that tightens up a bit more. I'm hoping the screws aren't too bad, because I don't really seem to have many replacements. So we're going to chance putting the old ones back in again. I'll just make sure none of them is full of cement. Hopefully we won't have to open it again anyway. Now, question is, does she work? Not so bad. Doesn't sound perfect, but definitely works. Wee bit of a noise from it. Let's say the coupler is just maybe a little bit tight. Now it's pushed up a little bit too much, or maybe not far enough. It's just making a little bit of noise from that, but as it breaks on, that should quieten down. But for a cheap fix, for a Makita motor and a Dewalt tool, old stock, keep the price down, that'll do nicely. That should do the job. But let's face it, the main thing we want to know is, what does she vibrate like? Stick this back on. See how she runs now. See, she's noisy. The motor's actually not all that noisy, but that's the end. This makes a hell of a scream. You wouldn't want to use that thing for anything more than its intended purposes anyway. That's her, folks. That is how you fix up your Dewalt poker. The Dewalt DCE 531 vibrator. If your motor ever fails in you, don't bother buying the rip-off Dewalt parts. Go out and get the Makita instead and modify it to suit. So, cheap fix on the Makita motor. You wouldn't be putting it on for the Dewalt. Check the description down below. If I have a part number for that Makita motor, I'll stick it into the description. Can't see it here at the minute, but I'll go back through the box of motors that I have and see if I have another one with the part number actually on it. So I have it, I'll stick it in the description.